As part of Arts Council England's Ambition for Excellence scheme, Sadler's Wells, in partnership with the Lowry and Birmingham Hippodrome, created a project called The Movement, part of which involved an audience development initiative focusing on digital and social media. There were three main components to this. One was an influencers program, which we called Social Movers. The next was an ambassadors scheme, which we called Get Into Dance Ambassadors. And the third aspect of it was a live stream of Ballet British Columbia's performance at Sadler's Wells.
We decided to recruit real dance lovers, people who actually had an interest from certain different levels. What was really important is that that cross-section of people were diverse and that were representative of all sorts of types of people regarding age and ethnicity and social backgrounds.
I applied to be a social mover for the movement because I really wanted to extend the work I was doing as a dance student and with my blog. I wanted an opportunity to bring more content to that, but also to reach a wider audience and hopefully to get more people interested in dance who might not otherwise have gone to see it.
My favourite piece was Imponderable by Goa Montero. This piece was so choreographically interesting, dynamic, really different, and as a student really inspired me.
So I applied for the role because I like dance. I've always liked dance. It's unusual for an almost 50-year-old to be involved in dance, so I thought it was a really good opportunity. I did African dance. I studied a bit of, not ballet, but modern jazz. I did a lot of African dance when I was in my 20s up to my 30s, so I jumped at the opportunity to come and see dance performances at Sadler's Wells.
Hi, this is Coco, your London social mover. I had the privilege of watching Michael Keegan-Dolan's Swan Lake at Sadler's Wells Theatre earlier tonight, and what a privilege it was. It was like watching snippets of life performed on stage before my eyes. Life in all its beauty, with all its sorrow and heartbreak and hardships, and innocence.
I think I was hoping that I would get out of this experience some tickets to see dance shows, definitely, which I did more than I could have expected. I started to see a lot more contemporary dance as a result of the movement programme, which I definitely wouldn't have otherwise. So it's really opened my eyes to that whole side of dance, and that's become a huge part of my life now.
My highlights so far, I think it would have to be the Swan Lake. It was breathtaking. It was spectacular. I don't know, I've never seen anything like that.
I think it's only helped to grow my passion and grow my knowledge as a dancer and as someone who's interested in dance. And I think it's just fired me up to spread the word about dance even more and to try and keep this work going as much as possible.
Since I became a social mover, I've learned that actually there's no limitation, there's no age limitation, and this has motivated me to pick up dance and other physical activities a bit more.
We found these social movers, they became a part of the process. They got something from it. They got to be a part of something that they love, and we got something from it in return. We got to learn about their enthusiasm and their perspective on dance.
I don't think there were any challenges to being a social mover, other than finding time. Because as a social mover, you have to come to watch performances and then review them. But sometimes work gets in the way, or life gets in the way.
So Get Into Dance is our local scheme for residents based in Islington who want to get more out of dance. And providing they're new to Sadler's Wells, they get £3 tickets to come and see a show 4 times a year, and they can bring up to 3 guests with them. Dance rights came out of the Get Into Dance scheme, and it's an opportunity for some of those people to learn a bit more about dance from behind the scenes and actually learn how to write about dance.
Before I became a dance ambassador, I thought dance was something that just happened over there. For me, dancing was at parties, at clubs, and I just associated a dance that happened in buildings like the theatre was not for, was just a bit square, a bit dry, and not anything that I'd really pay money to go and see. So it wasn't something that I thought that reflected my life and my idea of dance.
With dance rights, it was an opportunity for our press teams and also people who work on our social media platforms to support new people learn how to write about dance, and that's the most important thing. The emphasis is definitely on there's no right and wrongs, it's just really about your own personal opinion. But how you convey those opinions are really important for the audience that you're writing for. So having someone being able to edit what you've already written was really helpful because it just gave people an opportunity to get a little bit of feedback on what they're writing.
So for me, it's about being able to just escape, be childlike again. And it's something that I just want other people to experience, because I think we can get so caught up in the humdrum of life. And, you know, when you enter into dance, when you enter into this space, it just, all that drops away. It's like you can just let go of that and you just can become someone else.
It was beautiful, really emotionally charged. I felt in there. I felt as if I had the privilege of seeing something beautiful from my window.
You know, I've learned so much about it. You know, I look at dance in a different way now. I look at the lighting, I look at the costumes, I look at the movements. And it's lovely to be able to look at it and then to be able to write about it as well, to just express some of the things that you pick up from it, things that you wouldn't think about normally. So for me, it's just been a huge learning curve. For me before, I guess dance was something cathartic. It was just like getting out, have a drink, you know, let go of your inhibitions. But now it's a product, it's something creative, it's something that tells a story. So it's, for me, it's people's stories being expressed through dance, and I really love that. Everyone sees the same thing in different ways.
Dance Consortium had been wanting to work with the movement. We had shared ambitions around wanting to raise the profile of contemporary dance and build audiences for contemporary dance in this country. Ballet BC were a new company for Dance Consortium. This would be their first UK tour. We knew it was going to be tricky to sell outside of London and Brighton, where the choreographers weren't necessarily known. So we started a conversation with partners at Sadler's Wells about whether it would be possible to do something around the opening performances here as part of the movement, and that's where the idea of a simultaneous live stream came from.
As well as this live experience, we're also broadcasting it through Facebook, because the company are going on to a tour around the country after this. So all those people in those parts of the world and UK will be now logging onto their Facebook pages, as well as the Dance Consortium Facebook page. So we're going to have this other audience here. And they are also going to be asking questions.
It created a buzz across the venues before it happened. So the marketing and digital people in those tour venues were involved in the planning for it and were really enthusiastic and excited about that proposition. And then for their audiences, it was an opportunity to be actively engaged in what was happening in London. So they were able to submit their questions live, and Alistair was able to ask Emily or the Ballet BC dancers those questions, and that audience member could hear the answer that they'd submitted. So it was real engagement, even though people weren't necessarily seeing the show here. And then it created a brilliant asset. So even though there weren't huge numbers that were engaging on the night, it was the first time we'd done it and there wasn't long to promote it, because it's been sitting on those Facebook sites and websites ever since, tens of thousands of people have engaged in it, which is fantastic.
What was great about the Social Movers programme was to be able to hear different voices, to hear the influencers that we'd worked with talk about the shows that they'd seen, and all of them interpreting it in their own voice and in their own way. If we were to develop the Social Movers Influencers programme, we'd probably try and get a larger pool of people and create more bespoke activities for them. So in addition to seeing a show, there could be additional activities like workshops, presentations, talks, behind-the-scene tours, that sort of thing.
My advice for anyone who's starting a influencer campaign would be, don't worry too much about getting anyone with huge following and likes. Focus on the people who are authentic and who truly represent your brand and the message that you want to send out, because they will become more powerful for you and actually produce some of the better work during that campaign period.
With the Get Into Dance Ambassadors programme, what was really exciting was to see people who hadn't been into Sadler's Wells before, even though they lived down the road, and getting them to experience dance, sometimes for the first time, and to be able to have the confidence to enjoy it and experience it, and then to be able to spread the word with friends and family.
One of the best things about the scheme is watching people's confidence grow in terms of writing about dance and talking about dance, and that was evidenced when we did an interview with Janice and Kate when they came to see Ballet BC, and just watching them talk about dance in a way that was really personal but really eloquent was amazing. I think the most important thing when we're now thinking about how we can take it into year 2 is sitting down and actually carving out some space with all the relevant people across the organisation and thinking through what types of shows do you want to cover, because you want a really good spread of some classics, some contemporary, some fun stuff, maybe some hip-hop stuff. And just thinking through what level of support some of them may need, because some will need more support than others in terms of giving them feedback, and just making sure there's enough time in the diary to kind of cover that, so both the organisation and the individuals on the scheme feel supported.
So it was crossing those barriers, as I was allowing myself to engage in something that was very different. And not coming with preconceived ideas about it.
If other venues are thinking about doing this scheme, I would say be really honest about your intentions. I would also say talk to your potential writers and figure out what it is they really want to get out of it, because some people might not need that much support, they just really want a little bit of feedback. And I would say definitely do it, because you're actually growing a new generation of writers and reviewers, and we all need diversity across the board, and it's really important that we try and support that in any way that we can.
And for me, I just think I'd like to take lots of people by the hand and say, come and try it and see for yourself. See before you judge. So I think, so for me, it was getting rid of judgment.
The biggest success with the Ballet British Columbia live stream was that we were able to reach a huge number of people, more than actually were able to even see the performances on its whole tour.
It did bring challenges with it, without a doubt. I mean, the short lead-in time was a challenge. If we'd been able to promote it more in advance, I think we might have got more engagement for the live experience, so that was certainly a learning. I think an after-show Q&A quite late at night was tricky after 10 o'clock. So I think when we do it in future, we'll set it up at a defined time during the day, or just the end of the working day or something like that. So, and really promote it so that more people can engage with the live experience.
The most successful part of the live stream with Ballet British Columbia at Sadler's Wells was being able to use the first venue as a content hub. So although we did a Q&A with them, there could have been other activities that we could have used while the company was here, which could have ultimately benefited all the other venues on the tour.
And people haven't seen the show. So I think that's another thing we'd be careful about. In terms of, because obviously the audience at Sadler's Wells were asking questions as well, and they had seen the show. So I think it's finding a balance between questions coming from the audience in London or wherever the live stream is coming from, and those audiences that haven't seen the show. And again, I think that's a question of just thinking about the design of the question and answer session beforehand. But overall, hugely positive experience, I think.